Yeah, there's like a flat piece behind this. Get it back turning, maybe there, maybe I can grab it. No.
Sorry, for some reason I've lost the audio for a few of these clips. So this is a bolt that is basically flat on one side that it was quite hard to take off. I actually had to use vice grips on the back side to try and hold it while trying to run the impact gun to break it off. I believe Chrysler did this for probably speed production, you know, assembling these vehicles. So the next step is to try and remove this bushing. All I did was I ended up taking a drill and started drilling holes all around the rubber bushing here just to try and relieve it, so I could then, you know, try and press it out with a, actually I think I was using a socket of some sort to drive it out. The bracket here on the axle is very, very flexible, so you have to be very careful not to damage that bracket. But as you can see from the clip here, I just started drilling lots and lots of holes to try and get that centerpiece out, and eventually towards the end I did get it out. But this was probably the hardest thing I've had to do so far, was this one side. I probably spent, you know, probably, I don't know, 2 hours, a good 2 hours on it trying to get it out. It was quite tough. So I can't remember the different assortment of drill bits, but I just kept drilling repeatedly over and over, just trying to wallow this thing out. Some people have talked about using heat. I chose not to do heat. I didn't want to distort the metal because it is rather thin. So this is the process that I used, and, you know, like I said, after about 2 hours, it finally broke loose.
Alright, as you can see, it's out. This is what it looks like. Basically, it was facing in this way. Use this chisel. I use this here to try and slice it. I used this to jam in there and just pry it one way or the other. And when a small hammer doesn't work, grab a bigger hammer. And lucky enough, I didn't smash my fingers. That was a miracle. So anyway, when I looked at the time, when I got done, I would say probably about 2.5 to 3 hours to get this sucker out. And according to another guy, I think on a forum, he was saying this was the hardest one. He said the one on the other side supposedly was easier.
I'm not going to bore you here with a bunch of rambling, so get yourself a big, massive C-clamp and use a combination of a socket and a hole saw to kind of put on the back side. You know, you're going to see a little bit of a clip of the video coming up with the C-clamp I used. I used one that's called a Bessie clamp. It's not cheap. I borrowed it from a friend. I believe it's about a $200 C-clamp. It's massive. So that's what I used to press it. I was able to use the Maddox ball joint press from Harbor Freight. It moved it a little bit. But I kind of ran out of threads. But this massive C-clamp, I should have gone and gotten it first. I didn't even think about it. So I used that C-clamp. I was able to drive it out.
This thing looks like, this thing's massive. This is the clamp I used, and so basically, this is where that thing was. And I had this inside here, going up to, what you call it, a little flange, whatever it is on the housing, and pressing into here, and that's what popped it out. If I wouldn't have fought it for so long, I should have used this. And then I think I'm probably going to use the ball joint press to press it back in. I have a socket that will fit it, and that's probably what I'm going to use. I'm not joking. This is, in my opinion, this is harder than doing all the other suspension components, minus putting in a lift that you got to weld and all that. That's a little bit more complicated. All right, so this is the new one. Now, it wasn't driven in all the way, so there's a little bit of a taper here, and on this side, it only, I don't think it's going to go in all the way due to the taper here. But I measured from the inside edge to roughly about here. It comes out to be just a speck less than a1/2 inch. So that's what I'm going to shoot for. This socket's going to be perfect. It's going to go right on here. It's going to fit perfect. This is a Napa 3/4 inch, I believe. This is a 1 5/8. So I'm going to put that thing on there. It doesn't have to be machined, by the way. This was just some other application. I don't remember what I needed that for. But yeah, it fits on there perfect. And that's what I'm going to use probably to drive it. here we are. That's just to kind of start it.
Here you can see in the video I took the ball joint press and I just turned it around to drive it a different way. I ended up having to use a socket with all the different combinations of bushings that I had in the kit just to drive it the final bit. And each time I would move it, I would make sure that I'd measure and make sure it's absolutely perfect, because I was a little bit leery about going too far with it. To install the upper control arm, I basically had to take the top of the axle and just roll it to allow the bolt to align up, using a combination of the floor jack and just brute force, just to force it to roll and line up. This was kind of difficult, but you know, just the combination of the floor jack, brute force, you can pretty much get it to line up. The passenger side bushing here was pretty easy. I just lathered it up with some anti-seize and grabbed a socket and just kind of tapped it into place. The driver's side was really the hardest with rotating the axle. I didn't have to really rotate it very much to get the upper control arm to line up. Basically just slipped in the bolt, put it on finger tight, and later on I will put the full weight of the the full weight of the vehicle on the axles and torque everything down that way. I've got on the driver's side, so that lower control arm, the cam bolt is completely froze up in the from the lower control arm to the front axle. It's in that bushing there, so it's all froze up and rusted. So it's okay. I ordered 2 cam bolts from Quadratech last night. That was pretty nuts. $54.78 for 2 bolts. Comes with nuts and the 2 washers. But I have the fan going on, trying to get this stuff out of here, so it's going to be kind of loud. Totally seized up in there. As you can see, it's probably seized up in there. So this is what is this? This is the bump stop. My bump stop, they're totally rotted away. This is an insulator that sits on top of the coil spring. I'm replacing all of this. Sure, the insulator looks fine. Doesn't look much different from the new one. I have new insulator, just mounting cups, I guess you could call it. Now, I'm going to shove this back up. I don't know if y'all can see it. Probably not. Right here, on each side of this piece here, there's little holes there to help drain out the debris. But this thing is full, completely filled up with mud and trash. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use the vacuum and using a punch here. And I'm just going to stir it around and try and suck up as much as I can of that trash. Now, when you take this out, I've read horror stories about this where it's so corroded in there, people get this and they end up breaking that bolt inside. Luckily enough, I have not broken any of them. This is the last one. Fingers crossed I don't break it. But I'm going to clean all that debris out best I can using a vacuum. And I'm going to shoot a bunch of break-free penetrating oil. When I go to unloosen this, I'm going to unloosen it really, really slow. I'm going to not jerk it. I'm not putting a lot of pressure. Just doing it by hand, going as slow as I possibly can. I want to get that bolt completely out without breaking it. See, these are not very tight on here, but I'm not putting a ton of force. Definitely don't want to put no impact on this. And I just go slow.
Alright, here's the new one here. Oh, I forgot. I almost screwed up. Forgot all about the insulator cup. Go grab it. So as you can see there, you can get it zoom in right. This is the insulator. It's all moved. It's supposed to be the best as far as factory replacement. Put it all up there. Get this started. Got a new insulator path. Yeah, I can just push them. There we go. Pop them in. A lot easier than using a hammer. And now we're straight. We're good. So this is the bolt that I got from Quadratech. This is what they call a cam bolt. There's another little plate that these sit inside. So whenever you do the adjustment, or whenever whoever does the adjustment, whenever they turn this, see it kind of does its cam shape, kind of oddball shape there. It's kind of weird looking. It forces the axle forwards and backwards. So these are the ones that I just cut off last week, and they're going to be going back on. So there's something here. I don't know if you can see. Try and get so you can kind of see in the camera. Yeah, you see that way that bushing looked? The way this bushing looked. There is a difference the way these came off on the old ones, the very original ones. So this bushing, well, you can kind of see it, it's different from this side. So this one here I'm going to put towards the outside because that's what it originally had. Does it make a difference? I don't know. And I figured that was going to happen. So the axle is rolled. So I need to try and tilt it up. Hey, that'll work. That'll work just fine. That was too easy. Alright, this is the new cam bolt. I'm going to glob the piss out of it with a whole bunch of anti-seize. Yep, that's right. I had a moment. I'm tired and grouchy. But really, you should have seen the other side. That's what I should have done. So when you slide it in there from the other side there, the driver's side, you actually have to turn it a certain way to clear the housing to get it to go in. But it will go in. I promise you it will. Oh, now we can kind of see. Y'all can see and I can't see. So I'm trying to remember. This is how it went, I believe. I can't really see what I'm doing. Oh, shoot. And you can kind of see, I hope you can see on your side, the way this cam works. There we go. See how it kind of dropped in? So that's how it is. This turns and it acts as a cam. Maybe you can see it, maybe you can't. As I turn it, going this way, it's driving the control arm forward. And I move it back, it's driving it back. So that's what adjusts the caster. If I remember from automotive school, it's been so dang long, you don't want your tires to be straight up and down. So you want it actually to be, whether it's positive or negative, I don't know which way you would call it, but you actually, from my understanding, is you want your tires to slightly go forward. If you're coming back this way, that's really bad from my understanding. You actually don't want them to be straight up and down, but you want them to be slightly pushed forward. But again, like I said, that was so long ago, I can barely remember, but I think that's what they said that you wanted to do. And that's what also corrects the alignment, because you don't want to have one axle cocked this way, you know, or vice versa, because then it's not going to steer worth the darn. TJ Rubicons, I believe it's the Rubicon they call it, where they say that there really is not a cam bolt. I think that was in the 05, 06, but don't hold me to it because I can't remember for sure. Brain's not that great. Really should have shown you the driver's side, but like I said, too tired and I didn't want to jack with it. It was pretty basic, you know, I didn't film it. What can I say? I let the jack all the way down and the spring just popped in. Right there. Yep, there you go. Bottom of the spring. It just sits on a little groove in there. Now, the other side is the only side that actually has this clip, which you will see. You should be able to see right there. You see that little bolt there, bolt head. It's got the holds the spring in. This is the only side that has this. You can't say that, oh, a previous owner, but I'm the only owner since it's brand new. So I don't know why this has it and the other side doesn't. I believe the other side has a spot for it. I think. No, I'm wrong. So yeah, it doesn't have it. Doesn't, for whatever reason, they don't need it. Oh, I'm sorry. It does. It does have a spot in the back. Why they never put it in there, I don't know. But that is, it's not threaded there, but that is the spot where those two little holes are, where it should have had it. Who knows? Maybe this person was stoned on this side and the other guy wasn't. Who knows?